Well, at Crash Test Dummy, we were unpleasantly surprised by the 2025 Toyota Corolla Cross's Global NCAP crash test results. The Corolla Cross Killer, which is made and sold in South Africa, received 2 stars for adult occupants and 3 stars for child occupants. Toyota, much like other vehicle manufacturers, considers safety as optional extra in emerging markets like Africa. Global NCAP has clearly had enough of this double standard. And this is why, you know who you are motoring journos, you can't apply a vehicle's Euro NCAP rating to that same vehicle in emerging markets. Global NCAP stated that the absence of standard side head protection airbags, generally known as curtain airbags, is the key reason the Toyota Corolla Cross received only 2 stars for adult occupant protection. Standard safety equipment in South Africa includes driver and front passenger frontal airbags, side body airbags, known as torso protection, a driver's knee airbag, and electronic stability control, ESC. However, it lacks curtain airbags for front and rear occupants in this market. The higher spec XR and GR models do feature curtain airbags as standard. Therefore, the 2-star rating applies specifically to the lower spec XS and XI models. This is the long list of standard safety features available in Europe and Australasia. And this is the list for Africa. Note the red text. Australasia. Africa. This is one of the worst crash test results seen for the Corolla Cross in any global region and is a serious indictment of Toyota's approach to safety for customers on the African continent. Now, to the report. Rather shockingly, for such an established manufacturer, the footwell area was found to be unstable and not capable of withstanding further loadings, although the body shell was rated as stable. So, even with the knee airbags for the driver being standard in the 2025 models, the driver's and passengers' knees showed marginal protection because they can impact with dangerous structures behind the fascia. The driver's right tibia also showed marginal protection. A point to remember is that the pre-facelift models have a foot pedal handbrake. I kid you not. So protection for the driver's legs are probably much worse in those models. Global NCAP skipped the side pole impact test because the Corolla Cross, in its base African spec, doesn't come with curtain airbags as standard. Translation: Toyota customers in Africa don't mind suffering head injuries. And this can happen even in a gentle low-speed side swipe with a pole or tree. We're not fans of head injuries around here, and you really shouldn't be either. A broken leg might heal if you don't bleed out on the spot. But imagine walking away from a slow-motion kiss with a tree only to realize you don't know who you are or where you are going. Side impact showed good protection to the abdomen and pelvis, with adequate protection to the chest. Child protection receives 3 stars, owing to the lack of passenger airbag disconnection and the head of the 3-year-old dummy being exposed in both side and frontal impact tests. Note that Euro NCAP assesses crash test safety of children between the ages of 6 and 10 years old in the second row, but Global NCAP does not do these tests. Here's a clip from the IIHS on why these tests are important and why second-row seats ought to have pretensioner and load limiter seatbelts too.
The front seat has gotten a lot safer in recent years. Front seat occupants are now benefiting from technologies such as airbags and advanced seatbelt systems. The same level of technology often does not exist in the rear seat to protect those occupants. Advanced seatbelt systems that we often see in the front seat of vehicles these days include two specific technologies: crash tensioners and load limiters. A crash tensioner activates immediately upon a crash beginning and pulls you into the proper seating position. A load limiter, once the crash is underway, relaxes the belt, limiting the amount of force on your chest during the crash. They must also remain safely positioned within the seat belt during the crash and avoid contact with any hard surfaces in the vehicle. The biggest problem we saw with this group of vehicles was the rear passenger sliding forward beneath the lap belt. This motion is termed submarining and results in the lap belt sliding up off of the pelvis and into the abdominal region, which can result in a higher likelihood of internal injuries. These test results do not change our advice to parents. The rear seat is still the safest place for children. Those under the age of 13 should continue to ride in the rear seat of the vehicle and be properly secured in a child safety seat or booster seat appropriate for their age.
Global NCAP, under its new car assessment program for cars from Africa, noted in tests of vehicles that the body shells of the vehicles supplied to Africa were not as stable in crashes as those models supplied to first world countries.
The Yaris is one of the cars sold here that received a lower rating than the models sold in Europe. Technical Director of NCAP, Alejandro Furas.
I would say the South African cars, at least the ones we have tested, most of the cars in the fleets that are looking like the European ones, in most of the cases, vast majority, they are offering less safety than in Europe.
So, to sum up, the 2025 South African Corolla Cross models are nothing like their pre-facelift European or Australasian counterparts. In South Africa, all Corolla Crosses likely have unstable footwell areas. Although the body shell area was rated as stable, the XI and XS models do not have curtain airbags, which are known to prevent serious head injuries. Second-row passengers get the standard fare ELR seatbelts instead of pretensioner and load limiter seatbelts. And although the second row is usually still the safest place for children, unlike Euro NCAP, Global NCAP does not yet assess the risks posed to 6- and 10-year-old children seated in the second row. And lastly, there are a host of other standard safety assist features that Toyota does not consider necessary for the African market. Toyota has known about this open quote, problem close quote, with its models for the African market, but with its strong focus on reliability, African customers were happy with buying cars that could kill them or leave them severely disabled as long as the cars kept on going. However, for the safety of your family, just walk away from the Killer Cross XS and XI models, while you and your family still know who you are and where you are going.